AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride! Woo!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
Hey, Will.
Hey, bud.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. We'll talk to Ben McDonald here in about half an hour from right now. In 1 hour, so you have to leave, come back, or catch it on demand. We're talking about Spencer Rattler. There's a new report out there about Rattler potentially being a trade target throughout the draft. So I want to dive into that. Something we have talked about, kind of talked about it around the time the Saints signed Zach Wilson, but we'll circle back to that again in 1 hour from right now. How about it? Will Wade's got a basketball player. All right, let's go. Let's go. They're not going to be playerless for next season. I actually checked. Can confirm. It is a requirement. You have to have players on your team in order to play a game. So they're going to have players. Okay. Rim shot. Thank you. All right, there we go. It's a requirement. Got to have players. So they'll have players. They'll fill their roster, obviously. I'm not one that is going to freak out about this taking time. We kind of talked about it and compared it to what Lane Kiffin did as he was making his way through the portal cycle. It just took time, man. They had visitors, and then ultimately, you work through the money component of it all, and you still have a lot of guys that have options. Like we've talked about Alan Graves. He's a guy who's got options to go into the portal and go to a different place. It's going to be LSU Duke, or maybe he goes into the NBA draft. So you go through the draft circuit, you go through the combine, see what the draft feedback will be. They got time. But they did finally land a player, and it's a familiar name, should be a familiar name to SEC basketball fans. So Mo Dioubate has picked the Tigers. Now, interestingly enough, they have still not yet gotten Mo Diabate's paperwork done because LSU has not officially announced Mo Dioubate. But he's committed and everyone's got it and all that sort of stuff. So if you're not familiar with Mo Dioubate, started his career at Alabama, where he played for 2 seasons. This year, transferred to Kentucky, so he played for Mark Pope this 1 year at Kentucky, and now in his 4th season in college, will be playing on his 3rd different SEC school, 2 seasons at Bama, 1 at Kentucky, and now joining LSU. So Dioubate is from Queens, New York. He's 6'7", 220, and he's a guy that's played a lot of basketball. Throughout his 3 years, he has played in 101 basketball games. He has started just 10. So he has been an athletic, energy post player who can give you some help on the glass, is not going to be a big scoring threat, but largely is a guy that's just going to give you a post presence, alter some shots, grab some rebounds, and give you a lot of energy off the bench. So as a freshman in the 23-24 season at Bama, he played just 7 minutes a game. As a sophomore, more than doubled that. 16 minutes a game off the bench. Didn't start a single game in 2 years at Alabama. Goes to Kentucky, in theory, with the idea of playing more. Well, his minutes went up to 21.6 minutes per game. started 10 times in the 31 games that he played. So he did start 10 times, but that was just a third of Kentucky's games this year. So Diabate's played a ton of basketball. I love the fact that he's a veteran SEC big. I love the fact that he's played in 101 games. All 3 years that he's been in college, he's also played in the NCAA tournament, something that clearly is lacking at LSU. And the fact that he is he's an energy guy, a good vibes guy. You hear his teammates at both Alabama and Kentucky talk about him, they'll say the same thing. Both places where Diabate's been, he's the kind of guy that'll hustle for a loose ball on the ground and all that sort of stuff, and you need guys like that, especially if you're trying to instill a new culture with that buy-in. So Mo Dioubate, the first member of Will Wade's 2026-2027 basketball team. I also think it's interesting that Will Wade started by adding a high major transfer coming in from Kentucky in Diabate, because you look at Matt McMahon, and not to say that this is good, bad, right, wrong, it's just different. Matt McMahon recruited a lot of mid-majors, right? Just look at this past year. Yes, you had Mike Nwoko from Mississippi State, but the other programs you recruited from this portal class were Portland, Northeastern, UC Davis, Omaha, UNLV, and Memphis. So you went with a lot of Matt McMahon, maybe it felt like, was very comfortable recruiting mid-majors because that's where he came from. He knew that style of basketball. Again, I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, DJ Thomas was a guy anybody in the country wanted. Now he's going to Houston. And you had guys clearly that could play at this level. I mean, Max McKinnon acquitted himself very nicely. But there were other guys who didn't live up to what you expected. If you get a sample of 101 games played against SEC competition, like Mo Dioubate, you have a much better sense of how that guy is going to fare in the SEC. So Will Wade gets it started by adding a guy from the SEC, and maybe, just maybe, sort of reignite that Will Wade-Nate Oates rivalry by adding a former member of the Alabama Crimson Tide, who will now be wearing the purple and gold. So 1 down, 14 to go for Will Wade and his staff as they try to rebuild this roster that, until Diabate committed, had quite literally 0 scholarship players. Now they have 1. As they keep coming through, we'll tell you more about them. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Hey, Rouse's had their truckload sale going on. Remember, you can get on by Rouse's. You can always take advantage of the great deals at Rouse's. Always encourage you to look for the Rouse's branded products as well. Look for that Rouse's logo on any of those Rouse's branded products, and you'll know they go to great lengths to source locally whenever they can over at Rouse's. The official supermarket of the Saints, it's Rouse's. Get by your favorite or nearest Rouse's location. They still have crawfish boiled in-house every single day. Every Tuesday is Sushi Tuesday. All that hand-rolled sushi at all Rouse's locations. Grab and go, whatever your favorite flavor is. They got it over at Rouse's, the official supermarket of the Saints. Rouse's.com. Rouse's. This feels like home. All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. Thanks for hanging out with us here on a Tuesday edition of AFR. We'll get to Ben McDonald a little less than 20 minutes from right now. Looking forward to that conversation. If you missed it, Jay Johnson did confirm Cooper Moore out for the season. He will have surgery on that arm injury. Kind of got a little angry at him. The arm did. The arm got angry at Moore. Moore didn't get angry at anybody. It's kind of how. Actually, can you play that one? This was Jay, number 2. This was Jay kind of explaining that setback.
He just didn't recover as well from the midweek throwing, like I had talked about. Like he threw the pin and then threw again, and then it was kind of barking at him. We got a second opinion. This is what we got in the opinion, so we're going to get that taken care of ASAP, get him back for next year.
So Moore will be back next season for LSU, or they anticipate he will be back for next season. Jake Brown, however, the news, not good. He broke his hamate bone, surgery. He'll miss the remainder of the season, and obviously Jake Brown is a day 1 draft pick. So Jake Brown's career at LSU, for all intents and purposes, is over, barring something dramatically unforeseen. But I can't really put together a scenario where Jake Brown would return. As we look at the MLB draft is so different. Just as a reminder, every team in Major League Baseball has a slot value, a bonus pool that they can use to draft in the top 10 rounds. So like the Pirates have the most money. The Pirates can spend $19.137 million in bonus pool money. The Rays are next with 19.009 and so on. And so every pick in the top 10 rounds has a corresponding value, right? So even if you say, like, let's say hypothetically, Jake Brown drops in a round 2. Okay, let's say because you have the competitive balance rounds, and then you have something called the prospect promotion incentive pick, and all different types of anyway. But let's say you go in a round 2, which the first pick of round 2 is the Rockies at pick 38. That slot value is $2.6 million. Let's say you go to the very last pick of round 2, which is the Brewers at pick 66. Slot value is $1.3 million. Like, LSU can't pay that equivalent in NIL rev share for one player. So, and I don't think Jake Brown's fallen all the way to 66. I think he's going much higher than 66. So the point being, like, you're talking about a guy that's going to get most likely north of $2 million. So he's going to go and should go. So for all intents and purposes, yes, Jake Brown's LSU career, while not officially, is unfortunately over. All right, it's after further review. Let's now get a quick break. Come back. LSU football added a commitment on Monday night. Quick thought on that. And Lane Kiffin met with reporters after practice today. Hit some of the highlights of what Lane had to say. We'll do it next on AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by the Watermark and the Renaissance. Watermark downtown, Renaissance Southtown. Actually, I'm heading over to Renaissance a week from Thursday, and really excited to get over there. So not this Thursday, but next, because they are about to unveil a new menu, an updated menu at Tallulah inside of Renaissance Baton Rouge. So I remind you all the time about Tallulah. Tallulah, this is not a hotel restaurant. A lot of times, man, we've all been to hotel restaurants before where it's just, bar food or grab and go or whatever. No. Tallulah is a casual upscale dining experience. It's incredible. I'm excited to go try the new menu items a week from Thursday. But listen, if you're just knocking off at work, you can always pop into Tallulah right there at the Renaissance. Beautiful indoor-outdoor flow. Great whiskey selection, wine list, all that good stuff. Great place to have a business lunch, conveniently located right there in Bluebonnet near I-10. It's Renaissance Baton Rouge.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
She's the only one who really understands what gets me. She thinks my tractor's sexy.
Remember, over at Sunshine, they sell small construction equipment as well. Not just lawnmowers and ag. Oh, yeah. Agriculture, they got you, man. Tractors, your combines, all the stuff. But they got your zero-turn mowers, your gators. They do have small construction equipment as well over at Sunshine. Your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana, sunnyquip.com, sunnyquip.com. Title sponsor of our Tuesday shows all throughout the year. Lane Kiffin met with reporters on Tuesday after practice, and I think it was notable as there's a few practices left here in spring, but it also comes at a time where Lane, you can tell, as we learn him and he learns us, the people who he stares at him in press conference and meeting rooms all the time, you can tell that he is getting a little more comfortable in the whole processes as everything's playing out, from transitioning this part of his life, moving to Baton Rouge, and not to say that he was ever uncomfortable, right? I mean, he jumped right in with the parades and all the things that we saw, but he even talked about just sort of learning and starting to get everything around Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I actually had a former player today who moved back here after playing in the NFL a long time, and he said to me, he's like, okay, we went to 6 different places. Actually, was here with Saban, and then at the Dolphins with Saban. And he's like, we moved back here because the people here. And that does now make sense to me. Not to use it again, it's different. it's just a different feeling. It's like it's a combination, and I'll get criticized, I'm sure, for this. It's like the deep South, nice and caring with a little bit of edge too. And edge, I mean, a passion of like wanting to win and how can we help win. And so it's unique. But again, like the recruits feel that. Like in these Sunday meetings when I sit with them and they're on the couch and the parents and they talk about how much they enjoyed the town and the people at restaurants coming up to them and the diversity. And so I'm starting to get it.
I don't know it definitively, but I bet that was Donnie Jones. Again, I don't know that definitively. I didn't see Donnie at practice today, but Donnie played for Nick Saban at LSU and then was drafted by Seattle, then went to Miami where he played for Saban at Miami, and then played for the Rams, Texans, Eagles, Chargers. So, fits. Might have been Donnie. But yes, it does make sense. And I think that probably resonates with a lot of folks. The other thing that clearly has changed is recruiting. Because Lane Kiffin showed up he got here on a Sunday night. He was introduced on a Monday. 48 hours later, after that introductory press conference, was the December signing period. And so he had some guys that were already committed for the former staff, and some of those commitments were not honored. And he had guys that had been committed to him at Ole Miss that flipped. I mean, you think about guys like Ryan Moret, Corey Barber. I mean, they did a lot of work, to get that 2026 signing class, what remained of it, the dozen or so that they got in that early signing period. Maybe it was about 14, I think, maybe. But clearly, as he's been here now, out of the whirlwind of that initial signing period and going into the February signing period now, starting to put together his first full class, Lane talked about the recruiting component, and something you sort of touched on a few times here and there.
It feels completely different. I actually just had this conversation with the staff. I feel like now we recap the weekend and we're at full strength. Everybody's here. We know the people in the building. We have all our coaches here. They get to see practice also. So it's like now I'm really feeling the recruiting at full strength, and then combining what we do with the branding of LSU and then the response, which has been extremely high level from the recruits and their families, which has been great. When we first got here, we're here a couple days. We don't even have a full staff. We're trying to sign the high school class without even having a full staff. And then even going into the portal and having our coaches going back and forth and not here and then at the other place. Like, that was really challenging. And so a coach said last night, he goes, "Coach, but remember, you weren't full strength and still signed this #1 portal class of elite talent." So that was pretty exciting to think about. Like, we were able to do that and we weren't even at full strength. We didn't even know the building and what we were even selling a little bit. We could sell our systems. We didn't have a feel for Baton Rouge. And now to have the feel for everything, it really feels great. I walked back in the staff meeting Sunday after all the recruits were gone, and I'm like, for all these parents and players to come in here and say what they said today really just excites me about the combination of LSU and us together.
What Lane Kiffin was alluding to there over the weekend was, of course, a dozen official visitors on LSU's campus. And a big weekend. We'll have Shea Dixon on. He's supposed to be with us last hour. We missed Shea. Hopefully he'll be able to hop with us maybe later in the show today or tomorrow. But want to recap that official visit weekend. One thing that did come out of it is LSU got a commitment on Monday night. We'll get to that here in just a second. Let me remind you about Parish Restoration, parishrestoration.com. Say it every day. Kill mold, remove odor. It's their patented non-toxic dry fog treatment. Parishrestoration.com is the website. Go to the website, fill out the form on the homepage at parishrestoration.com. They'll get in touch. They'll give you an estimate, what it'll cost to dry fog your home, your office building, church, school, doctor's office, workout facility, whatever it is. You want to get rid of mold, you want to get rid of odor, other harmful pathogens, flu, other viruses going around. You want to knock that out? Parish Restoration can help. Just give them a call. Come by. They'll spray their patented non-toxic dry fog. As soon as that fog, they'll let it dwell. As soon as it dissipates, boom, you're back in. Clean, sanitized, great smelling. parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com. So Lane Kiffin and the staff did pick up a commit, their fourth edition now for the class of 2027, and it is Louisiana athlete out of Cecilia, Braylon Calais, who on the Rivals YouTube channel talked about why he picked LSU Monday night.
I mean, just putting the pieces together, Lane Kiffin and his offense, what they building. I just want to be back a part of the, why LSU, everybody was scared to play him, you feel what I'm saying? So just seeing me line up along with all the other players that's going there to help me, I just feel like it was the best bet, best fit.
Yeah. So we talked about Calais a good bit here. He's a guy who is from Cecilia, just under 6'2", 200 pounds, so a bigger wide receiver, an athlete in high school, kind of at a place like Cecilia. You're that much of a stud. You do kind of everything. So he is, but LSU's recruiting him as a receiver. He's a consensus 4-star in the composite 4-star, I should say. The number 185 player nationally, the 5th best athlete in the country, the 6th best player in Louisiana. So a guy that has offers from everybody, and interestingly enough, like we talked about a day ago, was being recruited to Ole Miss. It was kind of an LSU-Ole Miss battle, and he's being recruited to Ole Miss. His primary recruiter was George McDonald. His secondary recruiter was Charlie Weiss. So the two guys that were his primary recruiters at Ole Miss that were really the challenger to LSU are now at LSU. So this felt very much like a no-brainer. And so when you see LSU right now and where they stand, I think this is so interesting because LSU has just 4 commits for the 2027 class. It's Jaden Bryant, the 5-star edge out of South Carolina, who is the number 29 overall player in the country. Peyton Houston, quarterback out of Evangel, who's number 106 nationally. Calais, who we mentioned here, who's number 185. And then Amari Stevens, who committed on Friday at number 271. LSU has just those 4 commitments, but even with just those 4 commitments, LSU is the 10th highest ranked signing or recruiting class in the country. So for some context, if you look at the other classes right now that are ranked ahead of LSU, Texas A&M is the number 1 class in America. They got 12 commitments. LSU's got 4. Texas Tech is second with 7 commitments. Oklahoma's 3 with 20. Southern Cal, 11. Ohio State, 10. Georgia, 8. Florida, 7. Notre Dame, 8. Oregon, 8. LSU, 4. Quality over quantity right now. And when, as we've talked about ad nauseum, the top-tier players in Louisiana for this 2027 class, if you're able to land these prospects from Louisiana and the guys that you are targeting, you will be in the running for the number 1 class in America. I mean, you are thought to be the leader for Joshua Dobson, who's the number 1 cornerback in the country, the number 9 overall player. Easton Royals, the number 10 overall player, is a wide receiver out of New Orleans. You're trying to flip. Albert Simeon's the number 14 player in the country, the interior offensive lineman out of Sam Houston and Lake Charles. Ahmad Hudson's the number 16 player in the country out of Ruston, and you're the leader there. Point being, there's some top 15 overall, top 20 overall players in the country where LSU is leading. For a handful of these guys, you land them, you're going to have a pretty special class, and Lane Kiffin clearly getting more comfortable along the way with he and his staff. All right, it's after further review. Tuesday shows are powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. About halfway home here on this Tuesday. We're not going to break, come back, talk a little baseball with Ben McDonald. Always appreciate when Big Ben can give us a few minutes. Really rough go of it for the Tigers, and we learned Cooper Moore and Jake Brown are lost for the season. So can the Tigers salvage it? If not, what are they working on over these final 4 weeks? We'll talk about it next with Ben McDonald on AFR.
AFR.
Rev is now Rev Fiber, R-E-V, RevFiber.com. RevFiber.com, RevFiber.com. When we talk about fiber, remember, you were talking about a better product that's more cost-effective and you get better service. Why would you call anybody else? Like, if you have your internet service provider with somebody else right now, it's time to switch to Rev Fiber. They bury the fiber cables under the ground, so because they're buried, you don't have to worry about like tree limbs and falling on power lines or storms blowing them over and then knocking you offline. It's one of the benefits of having fiber. The cables are buried. So if they have fiber in your area, it is time to switch to Rev. Call to learn more. They'll save you money. You get better customer service as well from a local company that served Louisiana for 90 years. R-E-V. It's Rev Fiber. Lightning fast internet speeds backed by the power of fiber. RevFiber.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
She says she's got a dream, and I ask what
been a rough season for LSU baseball, obviously, and now they're dealing with two unfortunate season-ending injuries. Cooper Moore, Jake Brown, they'll shut them down for the season. I bet McDonald's going to have to join us for a couple minutes. As I understand, live from Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. Let's go, man. You got to see a good view of the fountain out there, Ben?
Yeah, man, it's beautiful here. They've ordered up some really good weather for us. It's sunshiny. It's about 77 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. And so to be in Kansas City in April and get this weather, it's certainly a blessing. So, yeah, it's a beautiful ballpark, and we're a couple hours away from game time here.
My sister and her family, they live on the Kansas side of the state line in Kansas City. So they're not far from you, man. They make it to Kauffman a good bit. So glad to hear the weather is nice. Glad to hear the weather's nice over there. Hey, not so nice, obviously, with what LSU's dealing with. Hey, Ben, have you ever heard of this thing that Cooper Moore's got? He's having the Ulcranon procedure, the stress fracture of the bone at the tip of the elbow. You ever heard of that?
I've heard of stress fractures in pitchers' arms in various places, but I've never heard it said like that. So I'm not sure exactly what that was. So from what you're telling me, it had nothing to do really with the ligament, the Tommy John ligament is fine. It's more of a stress fracture, is what it sounds like.
Correct, yeah.
Right. Well, that's a good thing. Typically, the stress fractures you come back from, you're healthy. Obviously, it takes a while, but the silver lining of that is, if Cooper Moore decides to hang around, he's going to be back for next year for LSU. So you may get all three of your weekend rotation pieces back, which would be huge for LSU next year.
Yeah. What was your impression, Ben, of Cooper Moore up until the point of the season when he made 6 starts before he was shut down? What was your impression of him at the time he got shut down?
I thought he had a chance to be the most consistent starter LSU had. And the reason I say that, Matty, is because he was a control and command guy. Like, he really commanded the strike zone. He did last year in college. He was doing it this year. I think he had 39 strikeouts, only 7 walks. And we know how many walks LSU's pitching staff has this year. While they could really strike you out, and, they're leading the nation again for the 3rd consecutive year in strikeouts, the walks and the hit by pitches have been, is what's really done him in. And he was the guy in that rotation I felt like could go out there every time and really make the other team beat him, And so he's a big loss because I felt like he really had a good understanding of how to use this stuff and how to pitch. And so that's a big loss for LSU. There's no doubt about that.
Ben, it's not gone well, and people have tried to compare to what happened 2 seasons ago when LSU started 3-12 in conference play and then got hot at the end of the season, went 10-5 in the second half. The difference is LSU had Holman and Jump at the front of their rotation. They were great. Well, this year, Evans and Schmidt, Ben, they got really good stuff. It just hasn't really manifested into great results. I'll just ask a very simple question. Why?
That's a great question. No, I'll say this about William Schmidt. If you go back and look at what he did last year in SEC play, I think the ERA was 27. Like, he really struggled in conference play. So I feel like, I know William Schmidt had a bad outing his last time out, but before that, I thought he'd been really pretty solid, and I was pretty pleased with the jump he took. His numbers are really, really good. He's got a lot of strikeouts. He got a few more walks than what he'd like to have. The stuff is there for him, and I feel like he's throwing more strikes this year than what he did last year, pitching in more leverage-type situations. The perplexing one is Evans for me. And I remember telling people that being a reliever is not close to being the Friday night guy in SEC play. When you go through the lineup once, or maybe you come in, you get 5 outs or 6 outs, it's totally different than having to go through the lineup 2 or 3 times. It's just not the same. And his command has not been great. I mean, the last LSU game I did was game 1 against Oklahoma. And if I remember correctly, dude, he was like, I thought, okay, this is the coming out party. This is when he's going to get going. He punched out 15, I think it was. He walked 1. I went, okay, I don't expect you to be that good every time, but maybe this is going to be the point where he becomes a little bit more consistent. And he's flashed it from time to time, but it's just not been great for him this year. And look, to go to the Friday night role, it's tough, as you know. I mean, it's really tough in the SEC. And what you have to learn as young pitchers is how to bend a little bit and not break. In other words, give up 1 in an inning, but don't give up the crooked number 3 or 4. And it feels like that's what's kind of plagued Casey Evans this year, is his ability not to stop the bleeding in some ways. And again, that is a learned trait. It takes some reps. It takes some time to kind of figure that out. If you would have tell me next year he'd be an All-American next year, I would believe you. I think he has that kind of stuff. It's just not been a great year for him. And look, you look around with the Tigers this year, they've really not played well in any phase of the game. I mean, the defense, don't forget, the LSU set a program record last year in fielding. It was the best fielding team in LSU history last year. And I think they were a top 10 team overall fielding percentage, and they've been one of the worst this year. A lot of unearned runs, and I think it's the 15th out of 16th in the SEC. So, look, when you walk a lot of batters, you put a lot of batters on, and your defense isn't great, it leads to giving up a lot of runs. And obviously the pitching has been an issue this year.
Ben, how much better can Case and Evans get in the next 4 weeks?
Wow. Yeah, well, we all hope as LSU fans he gets a lot better and he gets a little bit more consistent. I mean, this is a good test for him. I mean, he's never been punched in the mouth before. I'll say that. I mean, he came out and he was as good of a freshman as we've seen. I'm talking about high leverage moments, closing out games on the road in the SEC, a couple of starts that were pretty good last year. But I think if he can find a way to kind of just flush what's going on this far and get back to worry about just trying to be consistent and get the ball over the plate and let his stuff work, I think he can take a jump forward. And then look, that's what it's going to take for LSU. Obviously, they're working uphill. At 6-12 in the SEC, but the schedule they got to play, man. You got State this weekend. Now, South Carolina, you're going to have to try to sweep South Carolina. That's hard to do. Then you got Georgia and Florida, who are really, really good teams. And if you look at LSU, the strength of schedule is good right now. I think it's at 22 the last time I worked, and it's going to get better from there with the teams they have to play. But they're sitting way back at like 67 in the RPI right now. So they've got to win some ball games. And we know, I mean, you got to get to 13 wins in the SEC, maybe 14 wins to get in. So that's what LSU's got to be hunting, which means they've got to really get hot in a hurry. And that's going to be hard to do with the teams that they're playing and the losses of Jake Brown, of course, and Cooper Moore.
Yeah. Ben McDonald is with us. One more arm I want to ask you about, Ben, for a very specific reason. It's Maverick Rizzi. And you and I have talked about this in the past over the years about the challenges of tall pitchers finding that consistency. What are you seeing with Maverick Rizzi, who's got undeniable ability, but just hasn't been able to put it together?
Yeah, I see his mechanics aren't as consistent as he wants them to be every time. And again, that's not unusual for guys that are tall, 6'8". I mean, we saw Chase Shore struggle a little bit, remember, early in his year, and then he kind of figured it out late in the year. Of course, in Omaha, he was really good. He was a 6'8" guy, too, And so it's hard, man. It's hard when you're that long and tall. The average big league pitcher is right at 6'3". That's almost the perfect height. When you start getting 6'5", 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", it's tough because you get a little out of sync over the top of the rubber. It becomes a lot of out of sync by the time that ball gets that 60 feet, 6 inch mark, And so it's all about consistency. The good news for him is the stuff's there. We can't really teach stuff, but then maybe they can cheer him up and get the mechanics going in the right direction for him, because I really thought he was a kid that was ready to take a jump this year. I really felt like with the little bit of experience he got last year that he was going to take a jump, and he just has fought. And then, look, he has flashed it at times this year like a lot of the pitchers have. It's just about the consistency of the stuff. And in this game that we play, consistency wins at the end of the day.
Couple more minutes here with Ben McDonald. Ben, by the way, you'll be on the call this weekend in Starkville?
Yeah, I haven't had an LSU game since the Oklahoma game, so I'll be going over to Stark Vegas for that one. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then I'll have a midweek game on Tuesday with Southeastern and LSU with old Lynn Rollins. That'll be my last two regular season games of the year. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a lot of fun to get away from the big league game for a few days and then get right back after it.
Well, always love hearing you on the call, man. I would love a thought, if you could, on this state team, what you know about them, if you've had a chance to see much of them, and what LSU's up against, as you just talked about, really in a desperate situation, kind of starving for SEC wins now.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State is back on the map. And, to take you back, it is not, and that it's not uncommon for teams to back up a little bit since we're talking about Mississippi State. I mean, I'll take you back a few years ago. Ole Miss won a national title, went totally off the grid for 2 years. Mississippi State won a national title, went totally off the grid for a couple of years, couldn't even make the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament. And so it's not uncommon. We don't expect it to happen to LSU, but it has happened. So it's not uncommon. Even Tennessee won their first ever national title, and they did make postseason play, but it's not like they were a great team the following year either. So this is not uncommon for LSU fans. We don't expect it. And look, there's a lot going on, and, Jay missed on some portal kids, it looks like to me, and some kids he thought was going to come in and perform well, and it's just not happened. So it's been one of those kind of years, And so I feel for Jay, because the care factor with Jay Johnson is off the charts. Like, he really cares. And I feel horrible for him because it looks like he's aged 8 years, in the last 2 months, it feels like, but he'll get it cleaned up. And I'll tell all the fans out there at LSU, it may not be LSU's year this year, but if I know LSU, if I was a bet man, I'm not, I would bet everything on LSU next year, because if I know Jay Johnson, he'll be on that airplane and he'll have a bag of money, and it's going to be hell to pay next year, because LSU, Jay Johnson's it's not going to happen again to Jay Johnson. So it's going to be a fun year. And Here's the other piece of that, Matty, and I don't want to piss LSU fans off, but there's been some rumors about NIL and not funding the baseball program, and maybe potentially it got cut a little bit. But the NIL stuff has to get figured out for Jay Johnson and LSU baseball. And I'm not trying to make anybody mad, but the way I look at this is the one sport that LSU has where you feel like you got a real shot year in and year out, for the most part, to win a national championship is baseball at LSU. And I hope Lane Kiffin does a great job. I know there's $40 million out there, and Mulkey does a great job. And gymnastics, they do a great job, and so on and so forth. But the one program that should be funded, in my opinion, at the very top level in the country is LSU baseball. And if it's not, it needs to be adjusted, because I don't want to lose Jay Johnson. If Tony Vitello does well with the Giants, Jay Johnson, I'm telling you right now, will be the next guy Major League Baseball comes calling for. He will be the next guy. And if we can't fund Jay Johnson and give him one of the top NIL budgets in the entire country, LSU will lose Jay Johnson. And I don't want to see that happen, because for me, Matt, he is the best coach in the country with everything that he does. And so I don't want to get on my chair and just go nuts here, but I'm just hearing some weird things. I don't know. There was a meeting between Burge and Jay Johnson. I heard it went really well, and so that's a good thing for next year. But it needs to be addressed. If LSU's not at the top, and they aren't from what I've been told, they're not even in the top 4 in the SEC play, and they should be, it needs to be fixed.
Hear, hear. By the way, Ben, when you're in big league ballparks, what is the – I didn't intend to go this path, but what is the scuttle on Vitello and the possibility of more college coaches following that path?
Well, I mean, I'll give the Giants a lot of credit. They, Buster Posey, the GM over there, kind of thinking outside the box. They felt like they needed to change things up. And it's a new world in Major League Baseball with the analytical world and the way they think now. It's not the old school approach where you had to play the game to be a manager, or you even had to. We got analytical people. We got even coaches that never really coached anywhere before. It's up here in this analytical world. And I'll even take it a step further. They used to pick on the college coaches for calling the pitches, in the college game. They say, oh, that's the worst thing in the world many years ago. You can't do that. Well, guess what? There's 2 major league teams right now that are calling the pitches from the bench right now. So the more they picked on the college game many years ago about the coaches and the way the game was played, well, guess what? We got 2 major league teams that are calling pitches from the dugout now with the pitching coaches. And we got a guy that was a head coach in college ball that's now a big league manager with no experience at the big league level at all. So the game is shifting, and that's what I'm trying to say for Jay Johnson. Like, the rumor I'm hearing is if it slips up around LSU, he'll be the next guy that Major League Baseball is going to come calling for.
Ben McDonald, have a great call tonight. I see the Royals lost 8 straight, man. Let's see if the Birds can go get one tonight.
They're on the struggle bus, and the Orioles haven't been playing well. We won a 12-inning game here last night, and hopefully it's a little bit shorter. Maybe it's just a 9-inning win tonight for the Orioles. So it's early in the year, but it's fun. It's big league baseball, so we'll see what happens.
Ben McDonald, thanks for the time as always, Ben.
Anytime, buddy. Take care.
All right, we'll see. It's after further review. We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020, 924-2020. You want to see 2020, call 924-2020. I got a text earlier today from the Williamson Eye Center telling me, here, where is it? Somewhere in here. There it is. Hello, Matt. It's Williamson Eye Center. Our record indicated it's time for your next eye exam. I guess I got a schedule. Tell you, it's eye care, eyewear, and eye surgery. The eye care part, you can have your annual eye exam. Eyewear, if you wear contacts or glasses, they can update your prescription, fill your prescription. And eye surgery, if you want to get rid of the contacts and glasses forever, the Williamson Eye Center, they have a refractive procedure that will keep you out of contacts and glasses forever. But it starts with being brave enough to pick up the phone and go schedule that appointment to see Dr. Blake Williamson. Locations all over Greater Baton Rouge. 924-2020, 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com. Yeah, I didn't think Ben would I didn't think our conversation with Ben was going to go that route. But I get it. I mean, this guy played at LSU, loves LSU, wants LSU to be great. I think it's the thing we all fear is Jay having a wandering eye. I mean, you have this. And I don't know, maybe part of it's rooted in the fact that we saw it with Saban, right? I mean, you had the greatest coach ever. We didn't know at the time he was the greatest coach ever, but certainly didn't want him to leave. And he had a wandering eye, and he went to the pros. You can't help but wonder, could Jay Johnson potentially look at the same path? He got a lot of people's attention. I'll tell you this much about Jay, and I don't mean to go long here, but Ben kind of stoked my interest in this conversation again. I believe Jay Johnson would love to coach, would be the head coach of the LSU baseball program for the rest of his career, however long that is. 10 years, 20 years, whatever, however long Jay wants to coach. I believe he would want to be the head coach of LSU baseball. That is his desire. I also believe that even more than being the head coach at LSU baseball, what Jay Johnson desires is to win all the time. And if he feels like he does not have the resources to do so, is when he would look to go somewhere where he could win all the time. So I think that conversation will clearly carry on throughout the offseason. But in the meantime, Tigers have a game tonight against UNO. They'll be in Starkville this weekend. We appreciate Ben McDonald for a few minutes. Let me knock out a quick break, y'all. We'll go Tigers in the Pros to wrap up hour number 2 next.
AFR.
Okay, we're counting down the final few days of April, which means it's the final few days to enter the Gordon's Grads laptop giveaway. Today is April the 21st, so yeah, a little more than a week to go. GordonsGrads.com, GordonsGrads.com. That's the website, GordonsGrads.com. Been telling you about it for a few weeks now. If you are a graduating high school senior, if you're a Louisiana graduating high school senior, going to a 2 or 4 year trade school, 2 or 4 year college or a trade school, you are eligible to win one of 15 laptops from Gordon McKernan as part of his Gordon's Grads program, one of the many different philanthropic ways Gordon gives back every single year. So if you're interested or know someone who is, send them that link so they can find out how to enter. You can do an essay or a video, different ways you can enter. You get all the info there at GordonsGrads.com. That's GordonsGrads.com. The end of April is the last day to enter. GordonsGrads.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
She thinks my tractor's sexy. It really turns her on.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2. Could the Saints trade Spencer Rattler? Not a new question, but it's been brought up again with the draft a couple of days away. We'll dive into that here in about a dozen minutes from right now. But right now, Musso as Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
A little bit of a lighter slate in Major League Baseball on Monday night, but some former Tigers were in action. Jake Fraley getting the start in right field for the Tampa Bay Rays, goes 1 for 3. That was a double, his 4th of the season. Actually came off former Wake Forest pitcher Rhett Lauder. They're getting the start for the Reds. Fraley would also draw a walk in the ballgame. He's been kind of part of a platoon out there in the outfield for the Tampa Bay Rays. They took the loss 6-1. Oh, it was a rough night for Alex Lang out there against the Orioles in Kansas City. Ben McDonald was just with us, mentioned a 12-inning game. It was Lang that got to pitch the 12th, and it was a rough one. 1 inning, 5 runs, 4 earned, walked 1, struck out 2. Second loss of the season for Alex Lang. He's now 0-2 on the year. Royals go for revenge here later tonight. And a pair of former Tigers in action for the second time in about a week or so. Aaron Nola versus Alex Bregman. At least half of that, yeah. Nola, 4 1/3, 5 earned, 4 walks, 5 punch-outs. Took the loss in that one. Now 1-2. Alex Bregman, 2 for 4 on the night. Both of those hits came off of Aaron Nola. Both of them were doubles for Bregman. He also did strike out in the ballgame, and that was also against Aaron Nola. So 2 for 3, couple doubles and a punch out for Bregman against his former LSU teammate, and the Cubs got the win 5-1. NBA playoff action a night ago. Naz Reid, 27 minutes off the bench, 11 points and 9 boards, near miss on the double-double there, and the Timberwolves got the win. Some NBA action tonight to look forward to. The Sixers trailing 1-0. Trenton Watford will be in action there against the Celtics, and then Tari Eason and the Rockets trail the Lakers 1-0. Game number 2 in L.A. is the late one on the West Coast. That's Tigers in the Pros.
Presented by South Point Volkswagen, airline just north of Highland, southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online, southpointvw.com. Tell you all the time, if you want to search, you can go to the website, and every vehicle they have, if it's on the lot, it's online at southpointvw.com. And it's photos of the actual vehicle there on the lot. So go to southpointvw.com. There's a new or a used tab right at the top of the page. Hit it, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. You want to get pre-approved. You want to work out your financing, do the whole thing there, see whatever features you're looking for. Here's a 2026 Atlas Crossport 2.0 TSEL Premium R-Line. My goodness, you could see that right now at southpointvw.com. See photos of the actual vehicle. Airline just north of Highland, southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction? How about this? Just into my inbox. Of course, the LSU women's, not the women's, the gymnastics team. There's only a women's gymnastics team. It'd be redundant to say the women's gymnastics team. They were part of what is now the most watched gymnastics meet ever on the ESPN networks. So that just came through from the from ESPN. 1.1 million viewers watched the gymnastics finals on Saturday on ABC. So fantastic to watch the growth of the sport. Very cool to see. It peaked at 1.7 million viewers, which is the highest on record. All right, hour number 3 after SportsCenter.
AFR.
And, of course, those gymnasts and the LSU baseball Tigers and the football Tigers and every single LSU athlete, they trust Our Lady of the Lake, championship health care partner of LSU athletics. Tigers trust the lake. I trust the lake. You should trust the lake. As a matter of fact, today I was walking into football ops for after practice. So we were leaving the practice field, going into football ops, and I saw Dr. Kurt Chastain leaving. Of course, Dr. Chastain is part of the Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Clinic, and that's Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group, which that's my primary care physician. Stopped, chatted with him for a little bit. He was there with Mr. Richard Pellerin. So great to see those gents there, and always great to see members of the Our Lady of the Lake and the FMOL health community, because they continue to expand healthcare, touching nearly everybody in the state of Louisiana in some way, with a hospital, a clinic, something. It's Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar.